All right. I think I'm going to take one more call. And then it might be time. I don't know.
Yo.
Hey, what up, Matt?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, man. What's going on?
I was just wondering, out of any video game or TV show you've seen, what was one that you like when you first started playing it or watching it, you just stayed up for like 10 hours straight and like played it to the end or just watched it to the end?
Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I
Really?
would play those. Played them. I beat them in a week. Once I started playing them, and I think I got everything in each of those games. Yeah, maybe not in 2, because 2 had like a weird fucking collecting system. But I got all the Dalmatians in 1. But I would stay. I would get off of work. I worked the night shift. Come home and at 8 a.m., 7 or 8 a.m., I would start playing Kingdom Hearts. And then I would continue to play Kingdom Hearts until I had to go to work the next evening. So I would play until 11:30. And then I would go to work, and I would get off of work, and I would come home at about 8 a.m. and play Kingdom Hearts. Until I had to go to work the next day. So that game, I played a lot. Both of them, I played a lot and Lost. Lost and Sopranos, all shows that. Well, no, Lost right off the bat. Yes, I watched one episode and I'm like, I need to get caught up. I got caught up. And then Sopranos, I watched one episode. I'm like, I don't know. I don't get it. I feel like I like it a lot, but I don't know why I like it a lot. And I watched the second episode, and I went, now I know why I like it a lot, and I need to watch this all.
Yeah, my brother and my dad are watching through all of Sopranos right now, and that's actually, if you can probably hear it in the background.
I can't.
And my mom actually just went through all of Lost, same with me, and she got to the last 2 episodes, like finished them, didn't have a reaction, and watched the last 2 over again, was like, I don't know what just happened. And like I've been trying to explain it to her, and she just doesn't get it.
I remember explaining it to an Australian woman in China. I went to China in 2011, and we snuck into a hotel. And then I don't know what we were trying to do exactly, but we just went into this really nice hotel in Shanghai. I was there to visit my friend Artur, and he's weird, and he talks to people. We went to the bathroom, and I came out, and he goes, "We're going up to the 16th floor." I'm sorry, what? We're going up to the 16th floor. I'm like, did you find a way up there or something? He's like, no, I just met somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. So we go up to the 16th floor. It is the chef of, like the executive chef of the hotel's restaurant. She stays there. She's Australian. She's got her friend who really isn't keen to the idea of 2 guys coming into their hotel room, because she keeps, and very, very unabashedly, telling us that she had just seen a story about how this exact thing happened and 2 women got raped and killed in Australia. She was really not keen on these 2 guys coming out of nowhere who she did not know. And I understand I'm an intimidating person to some, especially when you have no idea who I am. So it was really fun to kind of win them over and talk to them and sit around and like drink beers and then smoke a bunch of cigarettes and then go to the nearest like club. We took a cab with these 2 women who we just met to meet their friends at the nearest club. And then we hung out there for a while, and we drank really cheap alcohol, and we danced, and we almost got kicked out, and then we left.
Huh. Yeah. There was only 2 instances ever with like video games or anything where I've like sat down and just been like, I'm only gonna play like an hour of this and it's going. It was Metal Gear Solid 3. I got it for Christmas and it was Christmas break.
That's another
one. I played the third one and I was like, I'm just gonna play like maybe 2 hours of it, and literally played it until the end, and it was like 2 days straight of me just playing it.
Wow.
And BioShock Infinite. I don't know why. That was right after PAX East.
BioShock Infinite was cool.
Yeah, I think that's the only game that like actually like got people to talk about like trying to like figure out the ending. And as much as like I think Christopher Nolan is like an overrated director, kind of like that's why I think Inception was a good movie, is because it like got people to kind of afterwards talk and try to figure it out.
Yeah, that's what I like about stuff like that. You know, you just try to kind of talk about it, and even movies like Prometheus, at the very end of the day, I'm like, hey, you know what? At least people still talk about it. It might not have been like the greatest film ever made, and it might have had really shitty parts of it, but we're not talking about that as much as we're talking about like what was going on in it. So I don't know, that's just me.
Yeah, and like I don't know, like and I think the best parts of like video games are like the hype up to it.
Yeah.
Like with Ground Zeroes and like with Phantom Pain for Metal Gear, like I'm seeing weird theories online that like, well, you're not even playing as a Snake. You're playing as like, what's his name? The cyborg ninja. Gray Fox. Like people are like coming with theories with that, and I think it's interesting.
I stay away from all that stuff. I really try to go into everything with absolutely no expectation of it. I'm always willing to let up my belief and like really get immersed into something. I allow when I watch something, I really allow it to try to convince me. I give it the benefit of a doubt to convince me that, you know, its world can exist and make sense. And that to me, I think, is what's so cool. Like in a show like Sopranos, like you watch it and you're like, man, they put you into this world and they created a world where nothing's wrong with it. That's like, there's no stupid stuff just to have like, you know, stupid tense scenes for no good reason. Like everything has a reason that it's happening. I think Game of Thrones does that really well, and that's cool because I remember, you know, feeling like nothing just happens in that show because they need to fill a few minutes of screen time. Something happens and that leads to something else, and that leads to something else. And that's what makes Die Hard one of my favorite movies, because everything that happens in that movie has a reason, and it all comes back to make one story, and it all ties into each other. And I think that makes it a really believable, timeless movie. So that's what I look for in most things, and that's what normally will catch my attention and make me want to keep doing it, because then it's like going away somewhere. It's like addictive because you're like traveling somewhere else by going into these worlds. So that is normally what makes me play a game for longer than maybe 2 or 3 hours. And why I don't play a lot of like online games unless I'm playing with somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the best like movies and video games and stuff, it's where like they hook you in the beginning. Like even with Lost, like immediately I was hooked in and was like, I like this, and then I watched it until the end, even though there were parts of it that I thought like are just there kind of because they need to move the story along, and how like there was a lot of questions that weren't answered.
Mm-hmm.
And if like they can do that correctly, like just hook you in and keep you in that seat. Like Kevin Smith had a great line that was like, I don't care about the ending or the middle or anything. I just want to hook you in and get you in that seat. Because as long as I get you in that seat, like I know I have your attention.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your call, man. Do you have another question?
Yeah. I mean, just quickly, I know on the podcast recently you've been having a lot of debates about like practical and CG and stuff, and how like the new Spider-Man trailer looks like way too CG-like stuff. Kind of going on to the fact of like, I know Eric was also saying like he thought that's why he stopped reading comic books and watching comic book movies, because like it's just too powerful. Like they can't die.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that, or do you just kind of think like you read a comic book just for the story and that's about it?
For comic books, I am tired of, and this is in general in any storytelling. It's like the only thing I allow to have this is wrestling, where the story can change and it doesn't matter 2 months down the road, and things can happen just to happen. It doesn't make any sense because that's like that's living, that's always moving, and it's not the same. But I don't like when story arcs just like get completely wiped out by the next story arc. So in that instance, when I do read comic books, I tend to read just graphic novels, a complete story of it all, and then finish it, and that's it. And then I don't read periodicals anymore because that was getting ridiculous. And you get Blackest Night tie-in to fucking Batman and Green Lantern, and you got this and that, and then you got fucking Countdown, and then the new Countdown, and then the new 1 year later, and then the new 52, and then 52, and then I don't fucking give a shit, man.
Yeah, like New 52 just canceled out Dark Knight Returns because they're introducing Carrie Kelly as the new Robin, I think, and that really like bummed me out because I think Dark Knight Returns is the best comic book story, hands down.
Oh, the Frank Miller?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just canceled that out.
But that's its own thing. Don't ever take it as anything else. Don't ever take it to anything else because it was done already so long ago that it's like now you're just pulling at straws because you need a fucking gimmick. So like that is a complete story. It was written as a complete story and it was not left open-ended. If they want to start adding some bullshit and calling it canon, I hate when they do that. Like, it doesn't change. I think it does not change in any way what The Dark Knight Returns and Dark Knight Strikes Again did. Those two books were so good that, like, nothing can change that. That's just how I feel. I don't care if them trying to make it tie into that proves how good it is. That's how I take that. That way it doesn't, because people always get upset. It's like, oh, they're going to do a remake of this movie. They're going to do this or this. I don't care. I like the original thing. And you trying to do the original thing just proves me right. So, thank you. Because I still like the original, Army of Darkness. And I'll still like the original Evil Dead.
Yeah, I mean, even when movies get rebooted or stuff, like when the Evil Dead reboot was happening, people were like, oh, this is going to suck, it looks horrible, it's not going to be as good as the original ones. Like, you haven't seen anything yet, and Evil Dead is one of those movies that's like, it's not big enough yet that like people can still do their own thing. Like with Batman Begins, when that movie was coming out, I remember like everyone was saying like, it's time that we needed a new Batman movie. He did make it dark and edgy. But then I kind of don't like Batman Begins because now every superhero movie has to be dark and edgy. Like Amazing Spider-Man, like as much as I didn't really hate that movie, I just like, why does this have to be dark and edgy? And that's why I think the new one's going to be better because it seems like they're taking a more like lighthearted approach to it.
I just think when it comes to movies and stuff, just try to do something different. Just because one thing worked, like comic books don't make sense outside of comic books because you have to suspend so much to like agree that what you're about to read is possible. You have to give up so much like consideration. You have to already assume that these people can in a whim get superhero powers, that a large amount of radiation wouldn't kill somebody. So you see it on the screen and you see real people and you're just like, nah, man, that looks dumb. Like, oh, cool. Like, nah, The Rock isn't like a superhero. He's The Rock. This looks stupid. But when it's a cartoon, it can be anybody. It can look like anybody. And so you don't have to feel that like attachment to realism. And I think that's where Batman, people bitched about what he did to that movie, to that franchise, that he's not really a detective anymore, and it's this kind of like bullshit about trying to keep it true to the character from the comic book, and he did. So, like, with Batman Begins, I think the thing that kills me is that it just aged bad. It was... I don't like it as much anymore because I watch it and I'm like, oh, man, he had to, like, prove to the... he probably had to prove to, like, the... to Warner Brothers that he could actually make a good Batman movie before they gave him the budget to make two of the best movies that, we've seen in the past 10 years. So, I mean, those movies, he took them and he just took the idea of Batman and he made it a crime drama. And you could believe that a billionaire could have this resources, that he could have, these types of friends. You could understand that that's okay. But then you see Superman Returns, or whatever it was called.
Man of Steel,
and you're like, they had a chance to do that here. And instead, they made it stupid. And then for some reason, people liked it. So now they're going to do one with the Batman, because we didn't get enough of that.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I felt like people were kind of upset that Dark Knight Rises was going to be Nolan's last Batman movie. But I felt like with that movie, like, not only because Heath Ledger died and, like, that was obviously going to be a Joker story again, but, like, I feel like he kind of took a shit on the character. Because at the end, when, like, he just randomly quits and stuff, like, I don't know. I'm glad. People are bitching about Ben Affleck's Batman, but, like, I'm glad to see, like, maybe we're going to get that detective Batman and stuff.
What do you mean he randomly quits?
Like, at the end when he fakes his death, like, he quits. Like, he just goes off to Europe.
Good. This is now I'm going to get, like, really nerdy on everybody right here. I've always looked at Batman as not a permanent solution. And especially in the Dark Knight trilogy, he always says, that's his mantra, he does not want it to be a permanent solution. He doesn't always he wanted to jumpstart. He wanted to change people. A superhero movie, and especially one like that, the idea is that and the whole theme of the whole movie is to change a person. To change a person to have them make that change on their own. And they absolutely did that in this movie. Batman gave up the cowl willingly. What's the worst thing about, or what's like the flaw that Batman has in the comic book? His biggest flaw is that he can never give up the cowl because it has to keep going. They made it so that Batman gives up the cowl. They credit him as Bruce Wayne in that movie, not Batman. And I thought that was a really cool thing because the whole point was to rise out of the shit you were in from the first movie. I mean, it tells you that in the first movie. Why do we fall down? So that we can get back up. Dark Knight Rises, you see the shit that it's sitting in, and it stagnates in it, and then the Joker knocks it down, and then it becomes even worse, and then comes right back up. Like, that's the whole... I thought The Dark Knight Rises was really good, and I felt like people just wanted more Joker, and they didn't want to get past the fact that they couldn't get it. The Joker was an absolutely mesmerizing character, but I really liked, and the more I watch The Dark Knight Rises, the more I think I like it more than Dark Knight.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of disagree with that. I just kind of like the fact that that characteristic of, like, his work is never done. And I know that is right that in, like, and that is right. Like, I agree with you in the fact that, like, it's Nolan's trilogy, so, like, let him do what he wants. Mm-hmm. And how, like, I don't know, I just felt like when I left that movie, I felt like he kind of, like, some aspects of that character he just kind of betrayed. But, I mean, it is his own thing. It's like, I can see it as that, but, like, me being the Batman fan I am, I feel like it should have been that way. I mean, and unfortunately, I know it keeps on going back to it, but I feel like if they did the Dark Knight Returns ending, where it's like the sons of Batman, like, start taking over, I felt like that would have been pretty cool.
I think the idea of his character was that people would learn to be good. That people would want to be just. So that you wouldn't need to have masked heroes. And I'm not saying that he absolutely achieved that, but he became a symbol of justice, which is what Batman is. And the Batman does continue, and it's obvious, and it tells you that at the end of the movie, by showing you Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like, and they don't. There were two things in that movie that I hated, and I'll get to those in a second. But the whole, I think that Nolan achieved exactly what he wanted to with these movies, and I don't think he did anything wrong. And I think that the third one really gives you the depth of character that Bruce Wayne didn't have, and that's the whole point of this story, is Bruce Wayne rising, not just Gotham, but to watch him rise the same way Gotham fell when he fell, and like that to me is what makes that movie so good. And Bane was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I feel like Bane was really, I don't know, I like Bane. A lot of people didn't really like him. I don't know why, but I thought Bane was one of the better parts of that movie. I think Tom Hardy did a great job.
Tom Hardy is one of the best. He's another one of those actors I mentioned earlier that I could just watch act. He's one of the best actors I've ever seen. When he's like, he did that fucking Bronson movie. I could watch that over and over again. He was amazing. He's so captivating. I haven't seen too much else with him, I don't think, but he's a really good actor. And
yeah,
I disagree with, I think, the popular opinion when it comes to the Batman movies, and I disagree that we should continue to make superhero movies, because we did it. What else can we do? We made them legitimate, and we're not doing anything new with it. So stop for a while. Bring it back when it's new, when somebody does something innovative. Just don't keep doing the same shit over and over. That's what I'm tired of. But that, again, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Did you like the Robin thing at the end, or did you think it was like?
I thought it was ham-handed, but it was fine. I'll give them that. They've given me so much more than I ever expected out of Batman. It was cool, and I saw what they were going for. So at least it wasn't just thrown in there. Because the entire time you're thinking, man, this guy is a lot like Robin. That this guy encompasses all of the Robins as one person. A good detective, a person who's just, a person who's lost his parents. He's all the Robins.
Yeah, I kind of wish they said, like, they didn't say Robin, but they said, like, oh, Dick Grayson, or, oh, like, Tim Drake.
See, I thought that would have been stupid. I thought, like, in retrospect, I thought that would have been so stupid for them to just sit there and go, because his name was Grayson or whatever it was.
John Blake was his name.
So I'm sorry, that's already close to fucking Tim Drake, and it was like that was like edging too much to me, and I'm like, don't beat us. That's what the first one had that I hated. Don't beat us over the head with Batman references. They did a really good one that says, that people have been saying they see a croc running around here. That was good. It was subtle. It was tossed in there. It's something people could believe, like, Killer Croc, whatever. So I thought it was fine to have him called Robin. Thought it was a little stupid, but I thought at least the point of it was he is like every other Robin, and he's going to, like, take on the cowl. But that's such a small point to an otherwise amazing movie that I'm just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just me.
All right, man. Well, thanks for taking my call.
Oh yeah, of course.